Welcome back to Daily Encouragement. It is it is 11 p.m. here on a Saturday night. I've been working since 2 p.m.
Last week.
Since last week. I've been working the whole week trying to complete a project, and it's been a little tricky. And what should have taken maybe 2 hours to produce has taken about 2 days to produce. But maybe 3 hours to produce, taking 2 days. But we're almost done, and so I'm just rendering that out. I'm going to produce that. No, publicize that soon. I can't speak.
Sean's really tired.
The truth is I haven't eaten for the last day and a half, and I had a third of a steak yesterday, and after the third I was like, I can't do this. But it's good. I've lost.
Nearly 5, is it? 5 kgs?
Bonnie can't move her neck. We've got a very specific
I've
position.
got a small screen to fit into.
So
And I haven't lost weight, so I'm struggling here.
Yeah, so we're not, and you just had some bad news, which we're not going to talk about.
No.
So it's been an interesting week. It's been a very interesting week. But we have no idea what we're going to talk about. Well, we said we're going to do a daily, and we've done a daily every single day for the last 2 and a bit months, except for one. We missed one.
One day.
And we missed it partly because we thought, oh, we'll do it later, and then later came and it was already 1 a.m. So
Yeah.
we missed the day. So we got a failure on our record.
Did you even notice? Can you tell us which one?
So today I want to talk about production. I want to talk about production even when you're tired. I've been tired. You've been tired. But it's good to have a little bit of production, even if you don't feel like it's useful or it's going to benefit people much. It's useful to have a little bit of production every day. And even if that production means you clean your room or you get one little thing done on your to-do list when it's been lingering, just try to do something every day. If you get into the habit of not doing something, if you get into the habit of just accepting failure at every moment, and we all do fail, but accepting it in a sense that you don't get up again, you don't get back on the horse, it can set very negative precedents in your life. So whether that's your diet, whether that's relationships, jobs, projects, hobbies, spiritually, you got to do something to keep momentum. If you have value for it, sometimes you got to just chop things out of your life. But if you've got value for things, you got to do something positive towards that goal every day.
And I think it's important on the daily thing, because you and I have been prone to this. We will get excited about something, or we'll try and hit a deadline and give everything, like the whole day, the next day, that whole week, and then you're exhausted.
Yeah.
And then you're too depleted to do something useful the next day. And so I forgot what that thing's called. The was it 50 mile march? 50 mile march, where the guys
20 mile march.
20 mile march, where the guys each day did the same amount consistently, whereas the other team kept pushing it, and then.
So let me give you some context.
Tell the real story.
Jim Collins, who's a great author, business coach, he wrote, for me, the second most life-changing book I've ever read, the first being the Bible. But in that book, he contrasted someone called Amundsen, I think he was from Norway, and a great British explorer called Scott. And Scott was flamboyant, he had charisma, he was able to go and do things, and he was trying new things, and he tried engines to try and get to the South Pole. They were racing to the South Pole. And so Scott had all these flamboyant ideas, and everyone thought Scott's going to make it to the South Pole first. But Amundsen was like this old school guy, and he was going to use old school methods, and he planned methodically, and he took 10 times, literally 10 times the amount of food that he needed and the supplies that he needed. And whenever they put markers in the ground so they could track their way back, he put markers not just as one flag, but flags miles wide. So if they ever got lost or came off track, they could find their way back. And the biggest thing that helped them was that while Scott was flamboyant, when it was good weather, Scott would march for 50 miles and their team would try their best that they can at every moment. But Amundsen had a rule where he would do 20 miles every single day. And they can go back and track the diaries, and Scott would be complaining 6 out of 7 days. I don't know the exact fraction, but he'd be complaining regularly because the weather was bad, or this problem happened, or that thing happened. And so every day he would try and march 50 miles, but sometimes he would get nowhere. But Armistead would get 20 miles under his belt. Come rain or shine, come snow or storm, he would get 20 miles done. And even when it was a perfect day and sunny, he would not march longer than 20 miles because he had that rule. Because he knew the next day he'd have to march 20 miles. So he doesn't want to exert himself. To the point where he, by his own calculations, was 1 day's journey away from the South Pole. And he didn't know where Scott was. They didn't have satellite communication. And he decided not to march the 40 miles or the 50 miles that was left. He still marched 20 miles because that was his rule.
And he could have.
He could have made it in that day. And that's exactly what Scott would have done. And Scott ended up, his whole team died. There's famous stories about what a wreck it was and what a miserable mission it was. And Armistead made it to the South Pole first and made it home before Scott could have even made it to the South Pole. It's a great contrast of this flamboyant sprinter lifestyle versus the guy who just marches it out doggedly day in, day out.
Yeah.
And that's why you got to do at least one thing, one little thing every single day. You got to try and get one little victory. If you're depressed, get one thing under your belt. Just try one thing. Don't try and do 100 things to get you out of the hole. Just do one thing.
Yeah.
And when you do that consistently, it'll change your whole mindset.
I'm thinking of that kid. Is it the kid's story with the turtle or the tortoise? Which one is on land?
You tell me.
Turtle? Tortoise?
Tortoise is on
Tortoise. And he won the race, even though he was slow, right?
Yeah.
And there were all those other little animals.
It's the tortoise and the hare, the rabbit.
That's
and
right.
the rabbit was sprinting along and thought he was going to win everything, and then he took a rest right at the end because he was tired from his sprinting.
Yeah.
And the turtle just did his slow
And
pace.
this unexpected animal is an animal? Mammal? No.
Yeah.
What is it?
Animal. It's an animal.
Everyone expected it to lose because it's so slow. But it's surprisingly amazing who can come through when you're just consistent and daily about it.
What are you? Are you a tortoise or a hare?
I think I can be both. I can be zippy and woo. But I can just, Sean calls me, what do you call me? The
Half-time bunny.
half-time bunny. I don't know where he gets that from. Because in my head I'm not half-time.
Yeah. I'm more of a hare. I like to run. I like to be passionate. I like to try new things. And it's messed me up quite a few times. And so I've been trying to develop a tortoise mentality to do a little bit every day. And I'm pretty good at it. I still need to sprint. My nature is still to sprint. So I need to have those moments. Tonight, it's after 11 and I'm still sprinting. But the better I get at being a tortoise, the more productive I am long term. You feel very productive when you're sprinting. But when you sprint for too long, you actually end up running on a treadmill getting nowhere.
Yeah.
That can actually damage you. So just getting 2 or 3 things done, or one thing done a day in a positive fashion, can often outperform the sprinter who then sleeps and then sprints and then sleeps.
That's right.
So I hope that encourages you. Get a little done every day. Write down a to-do list. Hit 1 or 2 things on that list and see how you go. Go for a walk, or just cut one thing out of your diet, or just make that one phone call, or just save that $20. You don't have to make it this big monumental thing that you never accomplish. Just chip away at one thing, and you'll be amazed at how those little compounding differences will add up. Amen, sister?
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.